G'day. Well, I'm still in Victoria, still a bit of a chill in the air. This video is all about doing a bit of prospecting, going to a place called Moliagul where the welcome strange was found. Had a bit of a fossick there, had a bit of a fossick in another couple of places which were really quite good fun, and a visit to a place called Newstead, fantastic campsite, and also learned how to make your own gold nugget. Oh, shh. Anywho, let's go. I want you to remember these two names, John Deacon and Richard Oakes. So in 1854, they'd sailed from the UK, they're both from Cornwall. They'd sailed from the UK in 1854 and arrived in Bendigo. They spent 8 years mucking around trying to find gold in Bendigo with a little bit of success, nothing too great. Then they came to this place which is called Moliagul. Apologies if that's not how you pronounce it. And here in Moliagul they started doing their little bits and bobs, and on the 5th of February 1866 they finally found, well actually Oates was out ploughing the paddock, and the other guy, Deacon I think it was, he was digging away and he found some rock, and this rock was 1 inch or 2.5 centimetres below the surface, which is pretty shallow. Anyway, he was fiddling around and thought, this rock is not just rock, it's actually gold. So he got his pick in to try and lever the rock out. It's a pretty big rock, which was covered with quartz, and he tried to lever it out, busted the pick, so then he got hold of a crowbar, managed to get that out, and when they got it out, the two of them then decided to keep a big secret about it, because obviously that's a lot of money. So what they did was they put Deacon covered it and just carried on just like their normal fossicking around, because they had a site, you know, they'd nominated a site that was theirs, and they'd sort of fiddled around, looked as though they're still looking for gold. No, nothing exciting, and everyone said, oh yeah, whatever, an average day. Then as it got dark, what they did was they managed to lift it on the back of a cart and then take it to an area. They then threw it in the fire. And in the fire, what happened was it heated up the quartz, so the quartz became brittle, and they knocked the quartz off, obviously kept that quartz just in case, and then they had the giant nugget. So then what they did was they threw a party, a moderate party, just of their local friends, and their friends came around and they were all, yeah, how's your day? Oh, not too bad. They had a couple of drinks, a bit of a mild celebration, and then Oates and Deacon said, oh, forgot to tell you, we found a bit of gold today. And the other guys come over to have a bit of a look, and there they unveiled the entire massive nugget. So the two blokes said, now you guys, we want you to come into town with us tomorrow. We've got to go to the bank. We want you to be our security. So all of the guys then headed off to the bank the next day. They got to the bank and they were just, you know, being treated like everyone else, and they finally got to see the manager, and they said to the manager, what are you paying at the moment for gold in kilograms? So the manager said, what do you mean? And with that, they brought in the gold. So the whole thing, including the weight of the gold nugget plus the what they did was all the quartz that they'd knocked off, they took that to a stamp. I think it's called a stamp. Basically, that's all crushed down, and as it's crushed down, any gold that's with it, that's inside it, is put to one side. So the weight of the entire nugget plus the other bit that they got from the quartz had been crushed up, pulled it across together, weighed 72.5 kilograms. And in today's talk, that's about $3 to $4 million. Not bad. I'm out in the bush and I'm just near the Welcome Stranger. It's probably about 500 metres from me. Just as a point of reference, even though I went there yesterday, it did say that this was an approximate area. So even though they've got the monument there, they didn't find that massive nugget there. The other thing you might want to know is there's two nuggets, two Australian renowned nuggets. One's called the Welcome Stranger, the other one's called the Welcome Nugget. Here is the Welcome Stranger, here at Moliagul, whatever it's called, and the Welcome Nugget was found in Ballarat, on that hill, you know, the Eureka Stockade, Bakery Hill or something like that. I'll write it here as a reference, and I'm not expecting to find either of those. I'm more than happy. If I can't describe how small it is, but I know they call it a match head, and a match head is pretty tiny. I'd be pretty happy with that today or any day. Anywho, well, let's go prospecting. Now, I don't often go on about how good a campsite is or how good a town is, but I'm in a little town called Newstead, and which is just about 15 minutes from Malden and not that far from Bendigo and Ballarat and Melbourne. The reason I really like this place is it's $10 a night. And again, I don't normally talk about the price. It's $10 a night. That's for the site, not for per person and all that sort of stuff, which is exceptional value. It's a massive area that you can camp in. It has fresh drinking water, so you can top up your caravan, and it has hot showers, no cost. I mean, really, how good is that? So yeah, I really love it. Yeah, look, I could go out and stay at free camps and stuff like that, but sometimes it's just lovely to luxuriate. And I forgot to mention, it's mostly grass. Wow, not bad. I'm standing at what I believe to be not the grandstand, but the position where the officials would stand and wait, and the horses come flying down the main straight here in front of them, and they would have the checkered flag or whatever it is for horses, and they'd say, yes, there he is, there's the winner. Now what I've done is, just to give you the atmosphere, I borrowed some actual horse racing, so I apologise for any copyright that I've broken, but I just wanted to give you that kind of atmosphere.
They're into the stretch. It's Right Dane on the outside, getting his head in front. Cicada hangs on tenaciously in second position. One of the great stretch battles of all time. Cicada on the rail. Right Dane on the outside. 5 lanes for the back. Admiral's Voyage and Dr. Hank K. That's Right Dane in front by a nose. Cicada is second, and here comes the finish. Right Dane the winner by a nose. Cicada second, 6 lanes. Admiral's Voyage third ahead.
Now, what's the chances of driving in a little country town called Newstead and these absolute classic cars? Now, there's 3 of them. There was 4 before, around about 1926, and there's a Chevy, a Ford, and a Chrysler. just over my shoulder there is a mine. I'd love to know the history of it, but basically it's a pretty serious mine. And it looks as though they've made it safe so that in case, I mean, they shouldn't have people going in. I'll have a quick poke, a bit of a look, but there must be a bit of a drop off. So I think when they were digging this mine, they were full on. Let's go and have a look. Yep, that's pretty serious. I think I've seen enough. I have to say, I feel like I'm digging for gold. I feel like I'm digging for oil. Anywho, I shall persist because the old gold monster's making a bit of a squawk. I dug out a little bit more, so I'll just keep. Yes, dear. Yes, dear. I'll just keep digging until something happens. Oh, here it is. Lucky for some. I think it's that way up is lucky and that way is unlucky, I'm not sure. Whew, I better stop digging, I might find the whole horse. Going to be a bit of rubbish. I'm in a pub in a place called Newstead, which is part of the big golden triangle. Now the importance of me being here is I bumped into a guy called Dean. Now Dean is, his job is to recreate gold nuggets that people find. And he was even appointed to recreate a copy of the Welcome Stranger, which I've talked about before, and that was found up in Moliagul, if I've got that pronunciation right. So it's quite an amazing technique he uses. I'll get him to chat about that in a minute. He does other stuff, but he does reproductions of this. And I'm just going to bring this over. This is a reproduction of the Welcome Stranger, and I'll just give you an idea of just how massive it is. Now obviously it's not made of, it's made of a light material because I wouldn't be able to lift it. Oh, even the material it's made of, not even sure if I'm in shot. But there it is. That was how much. It's just, I just can't get my head around it, because these days when we've got our little gold detectors around, I can't even show you the smallest piece, but if we got just like the little chip off that, oh look, I've got a nugget. And this thing here, so yeah, this is how it was. Had to smash it into 3 pieces because it was too big, and that's what it looks like. Now Dean has also gone to the trouble, as he does with all of them, or most of them, upon instruction, is he's gone out to Moliagul, got quartz from the area, in fact the exact area where this was discovered. He's then impregnated them on top of the gold, so I'm not sure how well that'll look, but this is quartz on the gold. All these bits and pieces are the quartz off the gold. So that's the kind of detail that Dean does. Wow.
Yeah, well, g'day, Paul. Yeah, after seeing the amazing Welcome Stranger, believe it or not, there's still big gold nuggets found in Victoria due to our amazing metal detectors that are available today. So like you said, that little tiny piece that might have broken off the Welcome Stranger, you could probably still find a piece out at Moliagul that may have even come from that. But luckily, sometimes there's nuggets that are still quite sizable and very valuable that people do find, and they want to sell that nugget because they want the money, of course, and they come to me at Environmental Creations and we make a mould of that, and then we make a replica, an exact replica of that gold nugget for their keepsake rather than just an image. And then when the nugget's sold, voila, they've got a replica there. How we make these moulds is, just say this is the original gold nugget, and this is called Cindy's Pride, named after the dog that was with him when he found it. So Cindy's Pride. We'll make what's called a silicon representation of that. So this silicon is a liquid. This gets poured over the top, and that encapsulates all the detail of that nugget on that side. We turn it up. We put a plaster or a fiberglass jacket over the top of that, and that's called the mother jacket because it's got to hold the flexibility of the silicon once it's taken off the original. So I turn it over and I do the same thing on the other side. So I ended up with a two-piece mould, which sits in like this, then another piece on top. And you can see all the fine detail that has represented that nugget. So every little nook and cranny is taken up by the silicon. And because it's flexible, it doesn't stick to the gold at all, and it might remove a bit of dirt, and that's about it. So we'd let that set, which takes a couple of hours, and then we demould the original nugget. And I can give you back your nugget, Paul, and then you can go off and sell that and buy a new caravan and car and house or whatever. Now, once I've got that, this is called the mould, and I can pour in plastics, I can pour in resins, plasters, etc. So what I've done today, this morning, is we're wanting to make a bronze replica of that and gold plate that, because it feels really good being in bronze. So this morning what I did is, having the mould into the two sections, there's a little pouring hole here. I poured in some molten wax into that. Now the molten wax is now cured, and I'm just about to demould this, and you'll see that voila, I get an exact copy of Cindy's Pride gold nugget, although it's in wax. There we are. So I have the wax. Now I send this wax to a bronze foundry, and they'll dip this in a ceramic, like a plaster ceramic material. That goes very hard, and they put that in a kiln, and then the wax melts out of it. So what you're left with is like my mould here. You're left with a cavity, but in ceramic. They melt down the bronze, and then that is poured into that ceramic mould. Once that's all cured and gone nice and hard, they smash off the ceramic mould, and you're left with this beautiful bronze representation of the actual nugget. And it's got some weight. Polished up, it almost looks like gold being bronze. But then I go and put a gold powder on there, or a gold leaf, and gilding it, or gold plating, depending on what we want. Then I'll generally go to the sites where I know they may be found, etc., like the Welcome Stranger, and I'll collect. So it's a deep lead gold nugget. I'll collect the clay, the pipe clay, and the soils from that little area, because it's quite individual, and I'll use that as my painting patina to put all the detail back into the nugget. Because when the nuggets come out of the ground, they have all that dirt and they have the quartz, and that's part of their character. So if I just had a gold nugget with none of that character in it, it just looks too blingy, you know, it's not the natural thing. So we end up with the nugget how the person would have found it, sits on their mantelpiece, they're happy, they got the mould, so they can make a couple of copies, and the gold nuggets, yeah, away.
You need glasses on this. It exists.
Did you get it?
Well, I don't know. I don't think there's anything there. And it doesn't feel as though there's any weight.
Well, a little tiny piece of gold. Here's a tin.
Yep.
A little bit of tin.
Yeah.
But shouldn't have been there, should it?
No, exactly. Most inconvenient. But it's definitely making all the right sounds.
That's it. Yeah, it's quite positive when it... That's a little bit that's fallen off that big piece. Mm.
More metal. Must be digging up an old rubbish tip. Well, there you have it. Not that easy to make up your own gold nugget, but there is a small catch. You do have to have the gold initially started off with, so it's not quite so easy. Also amazing, back in 1866 when that gold nugget was found and the cash value was worth £10,000, yeah, look, today it's worth between $3 and $4 million. But the other thing is, as a nugget, they're worth, and without you melting it down, they're probably worth, they reckon, up to 1.5, even up to 3 times the actual value of the gold itself. So if and when you do find that, it might be a consideration just to leave it exactly as it is. Anywho, if you found the video useful, helpful and or entertaining, please give it a thumbs up. And if you think the video is worth sharing, that too would be great. Until next time, this is Paul Will Drive, signing off.